Hello and greetings to you. I am Shushana, and today we're going to be talking about a pretty graphic topic. So, disclaimer for you, this is going to be a little bit graphic. So, why did I decide to make this video? I decided to make this video because I saw a video. I saw a video of intestinal parasites being surgically removed from an individual, and I just realized that I have to make this video. And I have to talk about the subject. I like to talk about things that nobody else is talking about. And if there are a couple people talking about it, it never spreads. It just stays in the underground. And there's certain things that should not stay in the underground, you know? So, I am gonna try to go slow because there is so much information. There's so much information that I want to talk about. There's so much that I want to discuss that I might actually make a part 2 for this video. So anyways, let's go back to the video. I saw a video of parasites being surgically removed. An incision was made in someone's large intestine, and this basketball of pinworms were pulled out of this man's large intestine. The parasitic worms, excuse me, I didn't mean to say the word pin because I'm not sure if that's what they were, but they were the size of a bean sprout, and it was just really inspiring to me. And I figured, you know what, I am going to discuss this issue that is not a pleasant thing to discuss. So I'm going to try to take my time and be very thorough about everything that we're going to discuss. So make sure you get a cup of water or a cup of tea, some fruit, some nuts, some snacks, because we're going to be talking about a lot of things today. I do not intend to hurt anyone's feelings. If I hurt anyone's feelings in this video, it's not my intention. I am simply passing on information that I feel is important to pass on. So, excuse me ahead of time because I'm going to be jumping all over the place, okay? I'm not going to stay in just one little corner. I'm going to be jumping all over the place. First things first, the title of the video, I don't know what I'm going to title it yet, but let's start with caffeine, shall we? Why is it that people are so interested in caffeine? Why is it that people are addicted to caffeine? By itself, it's kind of a rhetorical question. It's not really a right or wrong answer, if you may. It's more of a meditation, meditate on it. Why are you addicted to caffeine? I found it very interesting, you get your little pen and your little journal, and you just do your journal entries and your psychological entries and evaluations. And you meditate, and it's important to jot down the information that you get. Give me 1 second. I just realized that this window's open that I don't want to open. Okay, so it's very interesting when you meditate on certain questions. You know, you ask yourself a question and then you go in and you meditate about it. The one question is caffeine. Of course, it's going to vary for everybody. It's not going to be the same answer for everyone, right? It's going to be a different answer. But if you really, 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 really look at it, if you look at the addiction of caffeine, a lot of times that addiction comes from boredom. It comes from lack of motivation. But sometimes it comes because you have a parasite and the parasite is draining all of your energy. So you think that you need caffeine when in fact you need a parasite evaluation. So this video is going to be energized to help you diagnose your health issues. It's energized so that you will see more clearly when you are meditating and scanning your body. It is energized to give you an aha moment where you realize which foods you need to eliminate immediately. The next one is going to be painkillers. Painkillers is another one, especially in the cannabis community. I know cannabis is a medicinal plant. I understand that. I don't have anything against cannabis. The only thing I have against cannabis is the chemicals and how it's so difficult to find more natural strains as opposed to generic strains, which pretty much everything has a generic version. So with painkillers, anywhere from natural medicine to pharmaceutical painkillers, you need to evaluate what you can do to get rid of the pain. Why is the pain always there? It's not normal for a certain pain to always be there. A lot of people that are aware, spiritually aware, have this awareness depression, and sometimes you feel like giving up because it's so overwhelming. And a lot of the information that we're going to be talking about in this video is really, really overwhelming. So don't be discouraged. We're going to be talking about neuroparasitology today, and we're only going to discuss some of the parasites. We're not going to be discussing all of them because there are so many. We're only going to be discussing some of them. So originally, when I did my research on parasites, this was a really long time ago. And I was so disturbed by the findings that I numbed myself out and made myself forget on purpose. But it has resurfaced as I notice that it's becoming an epidemic where a lot of people are suffering from all kinds of parasites. All kinds of parasites. Like, I'm talking about both artificial and out of this world parasites. So just to give you one example, there was a mandated procedure that was forced upon the people, and those ingredients were put under a microscope, and Hydra vulgaris was found in a lot of those ingredients. And why were those not labeled? I mean, it's just crazy to me how somebody can put something in their body that doesn't have a label on it. these mandated procedures did not have any labels to tell anybody what are in the ingredients, and some of them had hydrovogaris, which is an immortal plant, that ultimately kills its host. And I'm not going to talk too much about that. There's mind-controlling parasites. There is a nanotechnology parasites. There's the Morgellons disease. If you have Morgellons, the doctor at a Western medicine facility is not going to acknowledge your issue. They're not going to even understand your issue. They're going to say, oh, we'll just give you some medication to deal with the symptoms, and they have no clue on how to approach Morgellons. Morgellons is one of those things that's always misdiagnosed for other things and treated as it's something else when really it is a parasitic invasion. So parasites, notice the word parasites. P-A-R-A. P-A-R-A is the same as paranormal. Parasites do the exact same thing that demonic entities do. So nanotechnology, Morgellons, nanothreads. I'm sure that many of you have come across foods that have nanothreads in them. They are these suspicious shaped fibers in food that are very, like, the best way that I can describe how they look is spinach. When you cook it and you make a cream out of it, like a creamy spinach, and you haven't put the saucy stuff in there yet, and it's just like the fibers, and you just take one single fiber of that. It's very similar to that fiber, but it's an artificial fiber. Let's see. Sea coral and oysters is two things that have been tested positive for having certain parasites. So I recommend staying away from shellfish. I recommend staying away from oysters that have been contaminated by otters. The otters were contaminated, and then the otters infected the sea coral and the oysters. So, like I said, I'm going to be jumping around because there's certain things that I don't want to talk about because they come with the whole train of categories. So let's see where we can talk about, where we can start. Let's start with one of the most common. So over 2 billion, or 1/3 of the population, is infected with this parasite. And this parasite only requires a single cell to spread. Okay. And it's called Toxoplasmosis gondii. I'm sure that some of you might be aware of that. But when I studied it, I had to study harder and harder because I just couldn't believe the findings. The findings are just crazy. So the reason why it's so, it has an agenda to spread as much as possible. And when it has successfully spread, it affects the brain of the person that it infects. It affects their brain and causes brain inflammation and forms cysts in the brain. Also, when someone is infected with Toxoplasmosis gondii, they have been known to have psychological problems, rage disorders, schizophrenia. And where does this Toxoplasmosis gondii come from? It comes from the cat. The University of Berkeley conducted a lot of tests on this particular parasite. It got a bunch of healthy mice and it got a bunch of infected mice. The healthy mice ran away from its predator. The healthy mice ran away from their predator, while the infected mice were drawn to their predator. So basically, I'm going to call it TG because it's such a long word and I'm going to discuss it a lot. TG removes the fear response that we should naturally have. We naturally have a fear response for our own survival. And this parasite is believed to be the most successful parasite in the world. I know, right? Toxoplasma will hijack cognitive function to further domination, removing the fear response that we should naturally have. Unfortunately, TG can be transmitted through sex, so it is categorized as a sexual transmitted disease that supposedly never leaves your system. It makes you lose your inhibitions. People who are infected with it are more prone to car accidents, self-destructive behavior, risk-taking. In females, TG makes the females promiscuous, and in males, TG makes males aggressive, and it makes them not only aggressive, but it makes them cheat. It makes them prone to being cheaters. Why? Why would TG want to do that? Because it wants to increase its offspring by spreading itself to as many people as possible. So it's going to make the people that it contaminates with the parasite go for as many different partners as possible so that it is spread that way. So how is it spread? It is spread in 4 main ways. I personally believe there's more ways, but the 4 main ways is pathogen, blood. The pathogen would be simply cleaning a cat litter box. So for those of you who can't help it and you're in love with your cat, I believe that your cat should use the bathroom outside of the house. If you can't help it, you know, love is love, and if you can't help it, your cat should be using the bathroom outside of the house. You should not be having any contact with the cat's excrements. Is that how you say it? Okay, so pathogen through sex, through blood, and mother to baby. TG can kill a baby inside a pregnant mother. So do you really want to take that risk? Do you really want to take that risk? Cats have dandruff that can cause allergies in the skin. So let's see, what have we not talked about? So ultimately, our immune system is a wonderful thing. And our immune system pushes TG to the limit of its ability to adapt. The parasite then multiplies itself into pieces that our immune cells can recognize as not ours. I need to grab some water. Please give me 1 second. Okay, thank you. So where were we? So our immune system recognizes that those pieces are not ours and basically sends a mass production to produce cells capable of taking care of it. However, this parasite is so freaking sophisticated that it realizes that. It realizes that it has an immune system that is not allowing it to do what it does. So it hides. It hides in the brain and it hides in the muscles because it knows that the brain and the muscles is the hardest area for immune cells to reach. Okay, so it is so important to clean the glymphatic system that is located inside the brain. And you may ask, how do you clean the glymphatic system located in the brain? By taking omega-3s, okay, by stimulation of the vagus nerve, which is fascinating, absolutely fascinating to me. How do you stimulate your vagus nerve? By chanting, by humming, by singing sultry. When you chant your soul song, when you hum, when you do your sultry, whether it's religious or not, your gospel, you don't even have to sing the gospel. You could just hum the gospel. You're stimulating the vagus nerve, and that actually cleans the glymphatic system. So another thing that will clean your glymphatic system is sleeping 7 to 9 hours, particularly on your right side. Sleeping simply cleans your brain. The omega-3s is really important, as well as fish oils, because of your spinal fluid. So I found that a lot of patients that had a lot of parasites were having problems with their back pain because it hides in the brain. So the back pain is from lack of fluid. It's from lack of fluid. So the omega-3s is going to help with that fluid, as well as fish oils. If you do take fish oils, make sure that you are hydrated. If you are not hydrated and you take if you're not hydrated and you take fish oils, you will hurt your stomach really badly. Okay, let me just back this up a little bit. I feel like the lighting, it's starting to get glary. Okay, stress reduction is also another thing that is going to clean your glymphatic system. Let's see, what else haven't we talked about? From a spiritual standpoint, parasites are believed to be like spying demons that report your transgressions to their gods. In Taoism, we believe that 3 worms attack the 3 Dantian most important energy centers: head, chest, and abdomen upon birth. So from the moment that you are born, you basically have an infiltrated, permeated kundalini at birth that needs to be cleared right from the beginning, which is insane, but it just makes so much sense. And what is the agenda of these three worms? These three worms cause disease and suffering until it finally ultimately kills its host and uses its host's energy right before death. There's this energy that is accumulated, and the three worms take advantage of that energy that is accumulated right before death to become a hungry ghost. So that is what we believe in Taoism. A lot of the parasites are connected to ancient demons, such as the fly. I don't want to say his name, so I'm just going to spell it. Lord of Filth is spelled Beelzebub, and he's believed to be the god of Ekron, and it's a parasite that causes basically the exact same issues as demons. So what else have we not talked about? We are going to talk about the remedy towards the very end, but I just want to make sure that I'm covering everything and that I'm not leaving anything out. So parasites can cause their host to kill themselves. Another thing that I found a correlation to is skinwalkers. So demons, parasites, skinwalkers, body snatchers, they're all the same thing. They all have an agenda to basically kill their host, and they can also convince their host to kill themselves, and they are often behind the idea of any kind of suicidal attempts. So more things that you need to know about TG is this parasite causes an attraction to fear. Like, if someone wonders, well, how do I know if I have TG? You can tell the people who have TG because they have an attraction to fear. They have an attraction to danger. They have attraction to multiple partners. TG also triggers collagen release. Is that not insane? Why? 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 To make more attractive, to be more attractive to multiple partners so that offspring can spread as much as possible. You heard that correctly. So people who have TG, whenever they're around multiple people, will start glowing. So they attract people to them. Unfortunately, there is only one animal in the whole world where Toxoplasmosis gondii can sexually reproduce, and that is inside the cat. And inside all of the cat's relatives. More things TG causes that I think we haven't talked about. It's believed by Western medicine to be inside you forever. I think I did mention that. And I honestly am part of the holistic community, and in the holistic community, there are things that are up for debate, and we believe that certain things that are categorized as uncurable are curable. You know, I think the holistic community is pretty optimistic when it comes to things like that. In Chinese medicine, TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, we're able to heal people of schizophrenia and AIDS and cancer. Okay. The last one has had amazing results with simply top shelf vitamin C. Schizophrenia in traditional Chinese medicine is considered a heart blockage, and also parasite invasion. And what was the other one? I forgot. AIDS. So that one, I'm pretty sure, I haven't really looked into it, but really there's a cure for everything on this earth. And in traditional Chinese medicine, they have a remedy for everything. So I have been aware of people who have been cured from things that were uncurable in Western medicine's opinion. I mean, really, Western medicine can't really talk because they're the most, they're the newest. They're the newest, and I have respect for all the ancient methods for medicine as opposed to Western medicine. You know how they call it alternative medicine? It shouldn't be called alternative medicine. It should be called the primary. Like, all, why is nature related natural medicine considered an alternative? Western medicine should be the alternative, and all natural medicine should be the real medicine, because really hospitals have no medicine. They specialize in death, not life. You know, that's why I tell people, if you're having a baby, don't have your baby in the hospital. Get a midwife, because the hospital will ruin your birth experience. They will make it all about them and not about you and your baby and your wishes. You know, you'll be plugged up with a whole bunch of wires. But let me not talk and ramble about that. So other things that I found interesting when I looked into it, because I did a lot of research on different kinds of parasites, and I just found TG to be crazy interesting, but at the same time scary that a lot of people don't realize what it does to your body. It can, you know, control your thoughts. Like, how scary is that? So this same parasite, which is very similar to all the other parasites, causes a dysphonic false hunger. So it's very, just like Candida. You know, Candida does the same exact thing. People who have diabetes, people who have addiction to sugar, people who have addictions to bread or beer or anything that has yeast or leavening, all those people have an overgrowth of Candida fungus. And it often causes a dysphonic false hunger, which is you are not hungry, the parasite is hungry, and the parasite is going to make you have cravings that is suitable for the parasite, not for you. So that's going to be greasy food, bread, sugar. So as I looked into it, I was just, you know, history is a fascinating thing, because a lot of the real history was demolished, obliterated. All of the evidence is obliterated. There is no evidence of a certain civilization that did take place. So that's why there's so many missing pieces, because it was obliterated. But anywho, there's a little bit of here and a little bit of there that you can still find about history. And in history, in Egypt, cats are vessels for the gods. And some say that cats are radio vessels for aliens, and that the split in their eye represents the reptilian eye. And interestingly enough, the larger cat species do not have that split. So let's talk about the remedies. Sorry that everything that we talked about was kind of icky, but I want to start off with morgellons, okay? So Google is not going to tell you the truth. For the love of God, what is wrong with people who think that Google is going to tell you the truth? Google is behind AI. Google wants to replace God with AI. So they're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you what they want you to think, if that makes sense. They're going to give you both sides of the story, but you can't depend on Google. So these products that I talk about, if you do not see them being mentioned on Google, it's because the agenda does not want you to heal yourself. The agenda wants you to self-destruct as soon as possible. So let's talk about Morgellons. I want to talk about that first, and then we'll talk about the other stuff. Morgellons can be avoided by boycotting pretty much all companies. It's best to cook your own food. You know, you want to cook your own food. You want to do avocados and lentils. I personally have found the threads in packaged foods. So let's say you go to a really expensive organic grocery store, and or a vegan store even. Let's say you go to a vegan store and you're like, well, everything here is vegan, so I'm going to trust everything, right? You go to the freezer aisle because sometimes we're tired and we don't want to cook and we just want to throw food from, that's been packaged in the freezer and just put that in an oven, not a microwave, a conventional oven. And I started finding threads in those packaged foods, even from a vegan grocery store. I'm not vegan, but lately I've been wanting to eat more vegan food, if that makes sense. Simply because the beef right now is contributing to the Amazon in South America being on fire and destroying the homes of so many animals and indigenous people. So I started finding these threads, and one of these days, I kid you not, I'm going to get me a microscope. And I'm going to start showing people what is inside the food. And there's these threads that are identical. So we started boycotting all these companies and just trying to eat our own food as much as possible, like lentils, avocados, fruits that are not too ripe, because even fruits that are too ripe have a lot of sugar. So anywho, there are people that are not aware of they have no idea what and who they're supposed to be boycotting, and they get this horrible disease called Morgellons that is basically nano threads coming out of your skin like hair. So instead of hair coming out, you have nano threads coming out of your skin, and they're itchy, and people pull them out and it looks just like a thread. So for that, I recommend black activated charcoal. Make sure that it is not a generic version. Make sure that it's from a trusted grocery store. Black activated charcoal is a binding supplement that will bind to whatever is negative in your body and help you push it out. It's not really good for, let's say, intestinal parasites or TG. I would not recommend this for that. This is more for clearing metals, clearing AI nanoparticles. There are things in our food that are little pieces of robots, and one of these days I'm gonna get a microscope to prove it. So this is what I recommend for anybody who feels like they have a lot of metals: Morgellons, threads, nanotechnology, which pretty much everybody has some level of that. So let's go back to talking about the more serious parasites such as TG. Before I forget, okay, I want to do like a little disclaimer before we forget, because this is just something that I want to talk about. If it's an emergency, and you have a foreign parasite that is not even understood by your nation, wherever you're living. On my home description, there is a doctor's information that can energetically get rid of foreign parasites, which are really scary, because I got intestinal parasites, I want to say like 8 years ago, from eating raw oysters, and the parasite was foreign. It was not a local parasite. And that particular parasite in Western medicine was only capable of killing the mothers. It was not capable of killing the eggs. And I was able to get rid of the eggs with this doctor. So if you're in a situation like that, that's like really serious, and you feel like, you have a third world country parasite that your own local doctor doesn't understand, feel free to look over under my home description. Not this description, my home description, but yeah. So I just wanted to put that out there just in case I forget, because sometimes I forget certain things. So going back to, let's talk about Diatomaceous food grade. A lot of people are intimidated by this. They're intimidated by this. I don't understand why. This is what it looks like. I've talked about this on multiple channels, but I deleted those channels, so I have to talk about it again and make an updated video. So this is the brand Lumino. Lumino also gives you a $2 rebate. This is the food grade. When you're buying Diatomaceous, all you have to look for is the food grade label, that it is the edible kind, because there's different kinds. There are Diatomaceous that are not the food grade, and then there's the kind that are for the food grade. The one that is not for food grade are usually for cleaning carpets, like if you have a flea infestation, or if you have dust mites or bed bugs. You would use the one that is not edible for putting all over the carpet and then vacuuming. You know what I mean? But the one that is edible is perfectly safe. You mix it up with some water and you include it in your diet, and you can also give it to doggies. Unfortunately, this did not work for my chick. I had a baby chick. And this did not work for my baby chick. And we foster a lot of animals around here that are just treated badly in the neighborhood by people that just don't have any compassion. And we were fostering a little chick, and I think we fostered it for like 3 months. And I fell in love with this baby chick. I tell you, like, when I fall in love with animals, it is a soul kind of love. And the chick kept getting parasites that caused it to have like a ball on the side of its neck. So we got it medicine from the store. We had her on this, and it didn't work, because this works really good for humans. It doesn't work as good for certain animals. I'm not gonna say don't try, because if you have a farm or if you have a barn and you want to include this in the diet of, your horses and your chickens, by all means do so. I'm just saying that it did not work for my chick. So I had to, take my chick back to the little farm that it came back from, and I was so devastated. I was so heartbroken. For like 3 days I couldn't sleep, and I went back to get it. I went back to get my chick back, and I was like, I'm taking it back. I can't live without you. And we fostered it for an additional month. So we had it like 4 months, and then finally we realized that chickens have this way of cleaning parasites through dirt. They need to be in dirt, in clean dirt, so that they're cleaning the parasites by being in a hole and digging. And just having an indoor chicken was just not working out, so we had to give it back to the farm. But this is really, really, really good for humans and pets, but I just think that it works way better on humans than pets. If you're dealing with birds per se, chickens, unfortunately, are susceptible to so many parasites. And that's the reason why we were not able to keep ours, because we could not figure out which parasite it was. Like, you would literally have to do a stool test of its stool to a veterinarian to see which parasite it is. So then I just started researching chickens and found that chickens have like 10 different parasites that they're susceptible to. So they really should stay outside, just like all the other animals. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but in my opinion, I believe that animals belong outside. Even a dog, you build a dog house for your dog, a little barn for the animals. The animals belong in their own little house, is what I believe. So, Diatomaceous. So, this is something that you don't want to go overboard. You don't want to go overboard. It comes with a little scoop. You see this little scoop? I usually do just 1 scoop with some water. And I really recommend this every day, because there's so many things in our environment that are toxic, that this just keeps your digestion from, having things that it should not have. So as you take that, you should see results within 3 days. You should feel lighter, and you should have more energy. Let's see. Diatomaceous also helps with hair growth and nail growth. So parasites, when you have parasites, it will block your hair from growing. It will block your nails from looking nice and shiny. And taking, let's just call it DE. Taking DE will work similarly than collagen does. Fasting and self-control are a double wall of defense, for whoever lives with them enjoys great peace. That is a famous quote. There's another version. There's also fasting and the other version for religious people is fasting and prayer are a double wall of defense, and whoever lives with them enjoys great peace. So whether you're religious or not, fasting and self-control will really lead to peace and happiness, because you will know that your thoughts are your own and not something else that's taking control. So coconut oil is another thing that I recommend also taking. If you start feeling like you are constipated because you're taking this, then take some coconut oil, put some coconut oil, cook with coconut oil, take coconut oil, and coconut oil will help whatever needs to come out. Also, this is whole leaf aloe vera gel, and this one is edible. This one is categorized as a dietary supplement. So aloe vera, if you drink aloe vera juice, this will clean you of intestinal parasites, any kind of parasites really. It does have a bit of a bitter, it has kind of like a bitter anesthetic flavor to it. So if you cannot handle the flavor to aloe vera juice or aloe vera gel, put it in a smoothie where there's no added sugar. And if you need to sweeten it a little bit, like maybe sweeten it a little bit with some natural honey, but I would not mix that with sugar because then you kind of cancel out the whole purpose. This particular one contains polysaccharides, and this one works really, really fast. Okay, it works really, really fast. It might cause a bit of a stomach ache, but just, take a little bit at a time and just really feel your body. What else have we not talked about? Pinworms. Let's talk about pinworms. Okay, so about 15 years ago, my oldest sister came back from a trip and they had got pinworms from where they were living. My sister lived in Papua New Guinea Island, Australia for about 9 years, okay? And her and her son had contracted pinworms. And it was so contagious that it passed on to my household whenever my household went to visit their household in San Francisco, California. And I was so mad and freaking out because I could not find anything over the counter that kills pinworms. I think I did get something that was over the counter, but it's the same thing as the foreign parasite. They're only able to get rid of the mothers. The Western medicine is not capable of getting rid of eggs. DE over here is capable of getting rid of the eggs. With DE, I was able to clear that from the entire household. Food. Let's talk about food. So foods that I would honestly stay away from. This is a really difficult one because when people are hungry, they just want to eat. They don't want to hear about restrictions. But unfortunately, the foods that heavily have worms are pork products, shellfish, raw fish, sushi, bottom feeders, so that would be like crab, lobster, and shrimp. All of those are going to be susceptible to parasites. I work in the restaurant industry, and at some point all of my roommates were chefs, and the chefs shared with me that all fish have worms. Like, it doesn't matter if your fish costs $50 or if your fish costs $5. It doesn't matter if your fish is an ahi tuna or a mahi mahi tuna. All of the fishes have worms that are burnt off during the cooking process. It is extremely easy for parasites to be transferred via fish because whenever the fishermen grab the fish, they put the fish in a container and the sun hits the fish, and the fish immediately, the amount of worms and parasites are just multiplying in the sun. That is one scenario. Then we have the other scenario where the fishermen try to be responsible, so they throw ice on top of the fish that they just fished. And what they're doing is simply preserving the parasites that are inside the fish for the consumer. So it's really depressing, you know. It's there is like this awareness depression that's real. It's when you know too much and it becomes overwhelming and you just think, my God, you know, what are we supposed to eat? What are we supposed to eat, right? So I think that's about everything that I wanted to talk about today. I hope that I didn't leave anything out. There is so much information on this topic that I might actually have to do a part 2. Anywho, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you look into these products to make you as healthy as possible, and that you are able to diagnose your issue. So in the morning, or let's just say your favorite time of the day, okay? Your favorite time of the day, where you feel that you have privacy, where you feel that you are focused, where you feel that you are calm. And you try to sit somewhere flat that is comfortable, and you meditate, and you just start to scan your body. You start from the very bottom of your feet. You start with your feet, you start with your toes, you start with your nails. How do your toenails look? What message are your toenails trying to send you? What about around your toenail? What about your skin around your toenail? What about underneath? Some of you might notice ringworms. When you are taking this, I would say around the first or second day, probably the second day, you're just going to start feeling the symptoms are going to arise, and the symptoms are going to show themselves a little bit more before they start subsiding. They're going to give their last attempt at staying in your body. So it's going to be maybe itchy in the area where the parasite is going to be cleared. What about your legs? What about your muscles? What about your nerves? Have you noticed an unusual pain on your knee or your leg or your nerves that might be associated with parasites, might be associated to a fungus? You start going up to your thighs, in the buttocks area, and your genitals. Is there any discomfort there? Any dehydration? Any overgrowth of Candida yeast for women? A lot of beer drinkers need to reconsider, because the yeast creates an overgrowth of Candida. If we have small amounts of certain funguses, they are beneficiary. We have benefiting bacteria. It's okay to have small amounts, very small amounts of positive bacteria. Alcohol removes the positive bacteria from your body. Alcohol removes the minerals and the nutrients that your body absorbed. The older that you are, the more that it takes all those nutrients away. A lot of people say that, oh, well, alcohol clears your system. It absolutely does clear your system. It clears your system of all the positive bacteria so that negative bacteria can thrive, aka negative parasites. So alcohol in itself is also very sophisticated because it's making an invitation to the body for negative bacteria to thrive. So for men, if there's a male that can't stop drinking beer all the time, that can create athlete's foot. So if you have athlete's foot, that is from too much yeast or too much sugar. And then pay attention to your lower back. A lot of times there is a mushroom that likes to hide in your lower back and take advantage of your lack of spinal fluid. And you might have lower back pain for no reason. And you go up your spine. How does this work? This dehydrates the parasite. You go up your spine and you scan that, and then back to your chest area. Your hands and your arms and your shoulders. Notice how tense you are. Bring the shoulders down. Keep focusing on your breathing. And now I want you to go to your face. Do you notice acne? Acne. Or blisters on the chin. If you're having acne issues and you're tired of it, take lysine, Lysine. There's a supplement called lysine, and it will clear you of all of your acne. On top of using lysine, you also need to notice why you have acne. There are many different reasons why you might have acne. A lot of times that acne is because of an allergic reaction. You might have an allergic reaction to a certain food. You might have an allergic reaction to a certain pet. You might have an STD. If you have contracted an STD that is causing rashes, I highly suggest red marine algae followed by green marine algae, but red is more powerful, as well as blue spirulina. And then there's the eyes. Any problems with the eyes? Any creamy tears is something that you want to look at. Maybe avoiding dairy completely. They're putting so many hormones in the dairy, so many hormones in the eggs, so many hormones in the meat. It's ridiculous. And then, of course, we have the brain, the glymphatic system, which is so important because it's very difficult for your immune system cells to reach that area. So make sure that you are getting adequate sleep, 7 to 9 hours on your right side if possible. really will clean your brain of anything that is trying to hide there. And then there's the nose and the phlegm. If you have a lot of phlegm, if you're having a lot of like bronchitis, people, anybody who suffers with bronchitis or pneumonia should stay away from dairy. Dairy is a whole other video. Like, I can talk forever about dairy. Dairy, the Jersey cow. Everybody orders a steak. They're ordering a steak. They're ordering meat from a hornless cow. A cow should not be hornless. The indigenous cow that has not had its DNA modified by mixing it with human DNA should have horns. If you look in India, the cows in India that have huge horns, that is how a cow should look. It should have huge horns. So this Jersey cow is actually a genetically modified animal, just like dogs and cats. So when you eat beef, when you're eating a cow, you're eating an animal that was genetically modified, that its DNA was altered and mixed with that of a human so that it would not have horns and so that it would develop milk that is more similar to humans. So it's kind of disturbing to think about eating a genetically modified animal. So a buffalo, that's the reason why we indigenous people saw and see the buffalo as sacred, because it's edible. You can make clothing out of it. You can make leather out of it, jewelry out of it. We would use the whole animal. And now so much food goes to waste. But anywho, that's about all that I want to talk about. That's about all that I think we're going to do for today. Thank you so much for watching. Last but not least, high-level sea salt. So high-level sea salt, putting high-level sea salt, ionized sea salt, iodinized salt, all kinds of high-level, expensive, fancy, nutrient-infused salt on your food will kill anything negative that the food might have. And now I'm finished. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Bye.